Welcome. I'm Cheryl Mitchell, the president of Tree Leven, which is a retreat and learning center here in Addison County on a farm. And it's been our privilege for the past many years to have opportunities to talk to people that are making a huge difference in the world of early childhood. So my guest today is Linda January. Welcome, Linda.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, Linda is the director of Otter Creek Children's Center, and we'll talk some about what she's already been doing, but we're especially going to focus today on her plans and the community's plans for expanding more child care services in the county. So again, thanks for being here. Do you want to give us a quick background about how you got into the child care business?
Ever since I was a little girl, I wanted to be a teacher. And so I was the child who would line up my stuffed animals and play school. We would go on field trips and all sorts of fun things. And so when it came time to college, it just made sense to go into early childhood education, which I did at Kent State University in Ohio. When I entered, I had no real idea of the scope of the early childhood field. I didn't know this kind of birth through 5 world existed, and I didn't know you could get an associate degree and all sorts of stuff. So I ended up getting an associate degree in early childhood education. During that time, I worked full time and ended up getting my bachelor's at Kent State in early childhood education. And during those 6 years, I worked as a infant teacher, a toddler teacher, preschool teacher, a early Head Start teacher, a Head Start teacher. I worked as a camp counselor with very young children and a nanny. And then I did a master's degree at Bank Street College of Education in New York City, and did a very short stint in 4th grade and realized that that was not for me. And ever since have been working with children birth through 5. And so I moved back to Ohio for a bit after New York and quickly needed to be back on the East Coast. And Otter Creek was hiring for an assistant director, and I applied and I got the position. And then a year later, I became the director and have been there ever since. Actually, I moved here the weekend that Irene hit.
Oh,
I started like the Tuesday after Irene.
Easy to remember the date.
Yep.
But so you're so totally grounded in working hands-on with young children, and you're also a director. Do you want to talk about the differences between those two roles?
Oh, it's so different. I don't know if I ever thought directorship was in my career path, but it is where I've landed. And you're working much more with adults than the hands-on with the kids. And you're doing, the pieces that I have really liked that I kind of didn't know I would like is the business side of it. So you do a lot of math. Making budgets, making sure, fiscally you're sound, and that kind of aspect of the work I like a lot more than I thought. There's also grant writing and community building and advocacy, and sometimes you have to trap a skunk or a cat or plunge a toilet. And the list of things you do as a director is kind of endless.
Yeah.
But the heart of the work is the children.
But it's great that you have that broad interest, because you're now involved in this huge project of helping to expand another 77 child care spaces in the county, right? And I know it's been going on for a long time. You've been planning and working on it with other people, with college people and Head Start and other people in the child care. But fortunately, it sounds like you like it. You like doing that challenging, complex planning.
I do like it. I like it more than I thought I would. It is this expansion project. areas of expertise that I never thought I would ever need. But it's definitely a huge learning curve, but it all kind of plays off strengths I have, I guess, that, that maybe I didn't realize that I had.
Yeah, yeah. So, do you want to give us a little bit of the history? So, I knew Otter Creek because it was where my daughter went when she turned
Yeah.
3, and I got to work with them early on. How many kids do you have there now, and how many kids will you have once this project is done?
Yeah, so currently we're licensed for 45 children a day, and we like our capacity to be around 42 kids a day. Those numbers just seem to work best for us. With the expansion, the goal is that the building will be licensed for around 139 children a day, infant through preschoolers. The building's being designed to be really flexible so that if we don't need that capacity, then we can utilize space in different ways. So yeah, that's it's a
Yeah.
huge capacity increase. It also includes College Street Children's Center. Once the expansion is completed, College Street Children's Center will move in to the Otter Creek facility, the new facility, and will be one facility instead of 2 facilities. So their daily capacity is around 22 children a day. So it's an increase to 77 slots.
Oh. And you maybe don't need to go through all of the changes that you've gone through in planning this process, but tell us where it's finally landed, what it's going to look like.
Yeah, so the expansion will happen at the current Otter Creek location, which is a 1900 style farmhouse with a old carriage barn behind the farmhouse. And so the design will remove the barn and put a new addition kind of in the footprint, the current footprint of the barn. And that will take a year. And then once that part is finished, we'll move in, and then there will be a complete renovation of the farmhouse, which is projected to take another year. So we're about 2.5 years out from the project to be completely finished if we stay on our current timeline, which we're really hoping we will. And there will be a new expansive parking lot for families to access. In the rear of the building will be the new entrance. So one point of entry for all visitors and families, with the director's office right next to the front door for security, and no more street parking or tight parking that we have now at both facilities. And there will be dedicated play space outside for infants and toddlers, as well as for preschoolers.
So will your philosophy of working with kids, will that change at all through this expansion, or is that pretty set?
I think our philosophy is pretty set, and that won't change. I think our kind of administration structure will shift a little bit, and which is kind of exciting because I think there will be more positions for teachers to grow into leadership positions. Most centers are kind of designed in a way where you have all your teachers and you might have 1 or 2 administrator positions, director positions, and it doesn't always lend to teachers growing into leadership at places that they may want to stay but feel like they might be ready for more challenging work. And so I think our administration design will be such a way where there will be positions that teachers can grow into their leadership and take on leadership roles in a different way. We're still working out all of those details, but I think when all said and done, if we're at full capacity, if we're fully staffed, then we will be around 50, between 50, 55 employees.
Wow. And you've always been such a supporter of like professional development for your employees. Will that continue? Will you be offering more ways for high school students to get involved or college students? What are your dreams there?
I think, yes, we will still be super supportive of professional development for all of our teachers. And I think we will be, I would love to see the facility to be a hub for the early childhood networks in the center, so they have a meeting space for professional development or their network meetings. I would love to see us figure out a program to support new teachers into the field, getting them from a trainee to an associate teacher, and just continuing to partner with Hannaford Career Center for human services students, possibly partnering with local colleges for student teacher placements, and, still continuing to have all those partnerships, but grow them. And so we'll have more space.
You'll have more space. You'll have
Yeah.
room to do it. It doesn't sound like you'll have actually more time to be able to devote to that, but maybe as you change your administrative structure, somebody else can take on some of what you're doing so you can spend more time mentoring along new and emerging leaders.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And I'm also curious about, you play a really significant role in the Child Care Directors Network for Addison County. What that means, will you have time to keep on doing that as this expansion project ramps up even further than it already is?
Yeah, so there are early childhood networks throughout the state, and in Addison County, I am one of the co-leaders, and we have two networks right now. We have a support network that really supports home providers and the work that they do, and then we have a directors network, which I am one of the co-leaders of, with Sue White, who's the teaching director at Corey Hill. And we get together monthly with other local directors in Addison County and just support each other in the work that we do, as well as advocacy for the field and for children and families. And so, I think that work will continue. And as far as if, I don't, right now I'm still a leader. I don't know what my capacity will look like in the future, but I do hope that we can provide a space, if those support networks want that, to kind of regular space for people to meet, to have a resource library, to have, we have books that kind of float between centers, and we have curriculum kits, but there's no one location for them.
Right.
So to be able to offer a space for those types of resources, as well as a meeting space, I think is one of my dreams of the facility.
Cool. And I also know that you're so well aware of the critical role that childcare plays in the business community and making it possible for parents to work. And now you're a parent yourself. Well, not just recently, but you have a child already in kindergarten. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So has your perspective changed at all since you became a working mother yourself in terms of what childcare is offering to the community?
I am forever grateful that I worked at a childcare facility when I had my child, because she automatically got a spot. If that wasn't the case, I have no idea what we would have done. And have had a very supportive board through her time at Otter Creek. Transitioning into kindergarten and the after school world, which we currently have no access to, has totally changed my perspective of, I really don't know how families do it. Currently, my husband and I are both flexing He flexes his work schedule 3 days a week, and I flex 2 days a week. I have a lot more PTO than he does. So on half days and full days, we are, I'm taking time off, or Evelyn's coming to the office with me if I have something that I need to do, which isn't ideal. But it really kind of opened my eyes in a different way of kind of, especially with the after school world, and the public school system. Like, I think in early childhood, we really are focused on the family, and our design has been to meet the needs of the family. And so we have really long hours and, do things very different than the public school. And it's clear that, their focus is very different, and it's that student focus, and kind of families are left to kind of fend for themselves and figure it out on their own. And for families like mine who doesn't have a larger support system, we don't have family in the area that can help us. It's a struggle.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we're glad you're navigating it okay so far.
Yes.
I'm also curious, because you've been very involved in Let's Grow Kids and Building Bright Futures and sort of the other statewide groups. You play a statewide role in this field. Do you want to talk a little bit about any of those things, about your dreams for how state systems might change to better support families with young kids?
Being an advocate was never something that I thought that I would call myself. And being in Vermont, it's so accessible. State government is so accessible that I have really kind of found that part of the work, and it really fuels me in my work. And I think it's important to advocate to make changes to the early childhood system for both children and families, but also for the early childhood professionals. And so I find the time to sit on different committees and to advocate when I can and testify when I can. I have a meeting tonight that I will be talking at about advocacy work. But it is really accessible, and it's really, I think it's just so important. And I think I've seen that firsthand of how kind of those personal stories and just that speaking out can make an impact and make change. And so, trying to connect families with their stories and get families to tell their stories. Teachers, I've taken teachers with me to testify, to tell their stories and their struggles. And it's just part of the work that totally took me by surprise, and I never expected to be in, but I'm really glad that I have found.
Yeah, well, it's fabulous to have your voice as part of that. We're going to be out of time in a minute. I'm wondering, do you want to share what keeps you up worrying at night about this project, or just your dreams about what will happen once you don't have to be focused full-time on, environmental assessments in brownfields and things like that?
I think that's what keeps me up at night right now, is the environmental assessment. I just know some bat or a salamander or something small animal is going to cause us some trouble. But I think, my hope is that Otter Creek turns 40. I think we'll be celebrating our 40th year next school year. And so I really my dream is that we're creating something that really will sustain this community and Otter Creek for the next 40 plus years.
Wow, I love it. I feel like, so Darla Senecal and I are both on the Early Care and Learning Partnership, and we as a group have felt really grateful to be asked to be part of this developing community project, because it's huge. I mean, and we look at you and think, whoa, how is she balancing all this, keeping a program going, at the same time that you're undertaking this massive new expansion? So do you have any tips for other people that are overextended?
Well, I think it definitely has taken a village, and I think the village we've created around this expansion project has been key. Our partners, our biggest one being Middlebury College. I don't think we would be where we are without that partnership. And then, I have amazing support at Otter Creek, both with my board of directors and with my program director, Colleen Nearing, and our teachers are just really supportive and couldn't do it without them.
It is wonderful to be in a situation where things are changing, and instead of people being panicked, everybody's saying, "Oh yeah, this is going to be great."
Yes.
So it's nice to see it happening. I'm sure there must be moments when it doesn't feel that way, but it certainly feels that way most of the time when I visit.
It is very exciting and very surreal at the same time.
Any other wishes for early childhood in Addison County? I mean, you're here primarily today as the director of Otter Creek, but you're also a family in the county.
I think there's some exciting stuff happening at the state. So I think, my wish is really for Vermont to continue to be a leader in kind of transforming early childhood with the financial pieces and financial supports to the system. And I think we're close, and I hope that this next legislative session, it gets us there. So
Well, it would be wonderful. Thank you so much for coming to talk with us today. I just want to say to anybody who's listening to the show right now, if you have information that you would like to get out to the public about things that would make a difference for our community, the Middlebury Community Television Station is amazing to work with, so you just give them a call and let them know. And also to give a shout out to Darla Senecal, who's our regional director for Building Bright Futures, not just Addison County, although we're sure that Addison County is foremost in her heart, but she's also the coordinator for Rutland and Bennington counties too. And she's been producing these shows for a long time. So I believe that Linda's contact information will show up. There will shortly, I'm not sure what shortly means, but be part of the website, the Otter Creek website, that will be really devoted to the expansion project. So if you're curious and wanting to stay up to date about that, or if you'd like to volunteer your businesses to be engaged in it, please give her a call. And thank you again, Linda. It was
Thank you
great
for having
talking to you.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.